Everything looked routine ... until it wasn't. At the heart of a quiet capital, inside the presidential estate, guards stood tall, lights flickered softly, and the air smelled of calm. But beneath the stillness, a plan was in motion. Nadia, dressed as a hospital technician, had entered hours ago, credentials clean, manner relaxed. No alarms, no questions. But inside her bag was a silenced pistol, and in her eyes, the stare of someone sent to end a president. This isn't warfare. It's financial assassination. Can a revolution survive when the world stops feeding it? Nadia passed the inner courtyard. She knew which cameras had been accidentally cut. She wasn't new, she'd been inside before. Her steps didn't rush. Her mind didn't wander. She moved like someone checking equipment, routine, invisible. At the same moment, President Ibrahim Traoré poured tea upstairs, reading intelligence reports about regional attacks. He didn't know death was on its way. He didn't know a traitor within had unlocked a side entrance. The revolution wasn't under siege from guns. It was betrayal served in silence. Hamid, a junior tech in the security room, was sipping stale coffee, half asleep. Then a glitch, a camera went dark. He frowned. Logs didn't show the technician entering. Her ID was valid. But she wasn't in the system. His pulse quickened. He tapped into the backup grid, hoping it was a bug. It wasn't. Meanwhile, Nadia reached the staircase. From her pocket, she pulled a tiny transmitter 1 button. A press meant, target in sight. On the screen, the sender's name flashed for half a second. Moussa Traoré's oldest aide. Moussa had always stood beside Traoré, loyal, firm, quiet. But the loss of his brother in the northern offensives changed him. Whispers and encrypted chats said he had switched sides. Tonight, he was the one who unlocked the side door. As Nadia approached the president's office, she whispered a final breath. She wasn't just a killer. She was a tool shaped by revenge, grief, and a promise. And she believed this bullet would end a dictator. But upstairs, Ibrahim Traoré stood calmly reading, unaware. Seconds left. And someone was about to make a life-changing decision. Hamid stared at the monitors. He saw her walking too smoothly, too alone, too wrong. He grabbed his radio. Team 2, respond. Silence. Again, code red, respond. Nothing. He checked the emergency circuit dead. He scanned the hallway feed. There. Outside room 2B. Nadia. Gun and coat. Trigger finger steady. 1 minute left. No one else saw it. No one else believed. Hamid ran. Not for glory, not for duty, but because he believed in a flawed man trying to rebuild a broken land. Sometimes faith is louder than protocol. Nadia stood outside the president's door. Her hand hovered over the transmitter. 10:12 p.m. The message had gone through. Moussa would open the service door in 60 seconds. Inside, Traoré was on the phone discussing refugee routes. Nadia heard his voice. Calm, focused. It threw her. Was this the tyrant she'd been told about? She reached into her coat. Gun cold against her palm. Click, safety off, 1 breath. But Hamid had activated the hidden lens watching her from a fire exit cam no one knew about. Hamid called the security chief. No answer. Again. Still nothing. Then a call from a private line. It was Moussa. I know she's in. Don't panic. Just buy us 3 minutes. Hamid whispered. She's outside the president's office, armed. I said 3 minutes, Moussa repeated. Then silence. Hamid's hands trembled. But he acted. He left the room. No gun, just his voice, his heart, and one goal. Warn the president before a bullet rewrote history. President Traoré heard the floor creak. He turned toward the door, unlocked slow. It opened. Nadia entered. Gun raised. No hesitation, but Traoré didn't flinch. Their eyes met. She stopped. Something in his expression cracked her. He looked not frightened, not even angry, just exhausted. He spoke first. "I know why you're here." She said nothing. "You think you're saving someone," he continued, "but this room doesn't house one life. It carries the weight of millions." "My mother will die if I don't pull this trigger," Nadia whispered. "She's all I have." "And if you do," Traoré said softly, "they'll still punish her. That's what people like them do." Tears welled up, but she held the gun. Outside, Hamid ran desperate. He couldn't shout, couldn't make noise. So instead, he sprinted to the breaker panel. His fingers shook. He yanked the manual override. Boom. The lights cut, power down. Blackout. 60 seconds until backup. It was now or never for all of them. Darkness swallowed the room. No sounds, no movements. Only breath. Heavy. Uncertain. Nadia couldn't see the president anymore. She raised the gun again, but now her hand trembled. Traoré's voice sliced through the dark. "If you were going to kill me, you would have already." She froze. "You still have a choice." The gun wavered. Tears fell, invisible in the dark. From the hallway, Hamid sent one final voice note. "She's in room 2B. I cut the power. Move now." Then he ran to restore the light, and maybe save a soul. Inside the darkness, Nadia sat on the edge of a desk. "The gun still in her hand," she whispered. "They said you were evil." "They always do." Traoré's voice was calm. "And you believe them?" "I don't know anymore." Silence. "Do you have a family?" she asked. "Yes," he said. "My family is every fallen soldier. Every orphan in the camps. Every mother still waiting at the border." Those words hit harder than bullets. The gun now felt too heavy to hold. Downstairs, Moussa stood at the generator switch. His hand hesitated. He had already gone too far. But Nadia's trembling voice echoed in his earpiece. He flinched. Then he pulled the lever. Emergency lights flickered to life upstairs. Red, dim, ghostly. In the glow, Nadia and Traoré still faced each other. The gun was still up, but her eyes had lost their fire. She didn't move, didn't speak. But something inside had already shifted. Traoré's gaze didn't harden. It softened. Pity, not fear, filled his face. "I'm not the monster," he said quietly. Nadia's voice cracked. "Then why does the world keep bleeding?" Traoré exhaled. "Because peace is harder to sell than revenge." He stepped forward. "But if you pull that trigger, you don't stop the bleeding. You become part of it." She closed her eyes, held her breath, then exhaled and lowered the gun. It hit the floor with a soft metallic thud. Seconds later, the door burst open. Guards flooded in, guns up. Hamid was with them, eyes wide. But Nadia didn't move, didn't run. She raised her hands and whispered, "I'm done." "I'm not one of them." Traoré stepped forward, nodding to the guards. "Take her and no harm." Hamid stared at her. Just moments ago, death had felt certain, but he had witnessed something rare. Someone choosing life over orders. The holding cell was cold, metallic, silent. Nadia sat on a bench, cuffed but calm. Then a knock. Hamid stepped in. In his hand, a phone. He said gently, "Your mother. She's safe." "We found her." Nadia's eyes welled up. "How?" "Mousa's network collapsed the second you didn't pull the trigger," Hamid said. "We traced him, found the safe house. She's fine." Nadia looked at him, stunned. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because almost pulling the trigger isn't the same as pulling it." Hamid paused. His voice softened. "Maybe. It's time people like us stop waiting for saviors and start becoming one." Nadia looked down. In that moment, she realized something. This wasn't a failed mission. This was a turning point. Moussa disappeared. No trial, no trace. Only whispers remained. Traitor? Coward? Or just another soul consumed by a war no one was winning? But Traoré? He gave no statement, no press release. Just silence and action. Days later, villagers in the north saw something strange. President Ibrahim Traoré lifting medical crates from trucks with his own hands. No cameras, no speeches, just quiet strength. His uniform soaked with sweat, his eyes tired but present. One boy whispered, "Is that really him?" An old man replied, "He's the only one who came back." That's when people knew. The man who almost died that night was more alive than ever. Nadia was quietly moved to a safe house. No public trial. No execution. Only transformation. They say she now works in silence, turning her skills against the very network that sent her. Decryption, tracking, exposure. She became the hunter. The very thing they built to destroy, now dismantling them piece by piece. Some call it redemption. Others call it war. But Nadia? She calls it survival. Hamid never returned to the control room, not because he quit, but because he was promoted, not to chief of security, to something rarer, a trusted voice. When people asked him what happened that night, he just smiled and said, "Sometimes the greatest weapon is knowing when not to use one." He still visits Nadia, sometimes in silence, sometimes with questions, but always with respect, because he knows what she almost became and what she chose instead. The world is loud, filled with noise, rage, misinformation. But between all of it, there's always a moment of choice. And that moment changes everything. You've just seen what courage looks like when no one's watching. You've witnessed a bullet that never left the barrel change the course of a nation. If this story moved you, hit like, subscribe for more untold truths, and share this with someone who still believes in second chances.